I just want to show you what we're dealing with on this latest batch of Peasheller Juniors. So this is a box I haven't looked at yet. I've taken some out of it and reworked them, but every one of them I'm coming across, they're all assembled backwards. So I'll take this one and open it up. If I take the handle and assemble it, get it out of here, and thread this on there, and then thread this onto the shaft. So how this works, the peas come in this top slot, and then the pod and everything comes in the top slot, and then the peas get squashed and the peas fall out. Pods come out this side. So if a person is wanting to, use the hand crank on this, they've got to crank in order to make it rotate. And so for this thing to crank, you're gonna have to go against the threads it's on here, otherwise it's gonna unthread itself. But unfortunately, when you crank it, the way these are all set up, if you look in there, the rollers are going the opposite direction, so it'd actually be pushing the pea pod out that direction back toward you. So you couldn't shell the pea. Now if I said, well, okay, I'm just gonna rotate it the other direction to get it to spin the right direction, so now that it's rotating the right direction, it gradually unthreads itself. So you see as I'm cranking here, it unthreads, and then that's it. So that's the reason I've been getting a lot of complaints on people are trying to use this hand crank. And if you're going to run it the way it needs to operate, the way it has to operate, it won't function properly. Now some people could probably put the drill on here and run the drill in reverse. It probably works for them. So I'm anticipating some of the ones I hadn't gotten back is from people who are using a drill. So they haven't used this hand crank, and so it hadn't been a problem for them because they're just putting a drill over here and they're just running the drill in reverse, and so it still runs fine. So what I'm having to do on all of these, I've already got back several, is essentially I'm just having to disassemble each one, and I've got a little fixture to help me do it. But I'm having to flip these, put them on the opposite side, so I've got to undo the nut on every one of them and take it apart. Take this off, and I'm essentially just having to take this top shaft out. Let me get the bottom one out first. The bottom shaft, and then the top shaft with the bushing on there. Then take this top bushing out, move it over here to this side, and then I've got to then put the gear or the rollers back in with the gears down now. So I put the gear back in like that, the roller back in, and then take this other one, put it gear down, and then put the plate back on and reassemble it. And then tighten that all back up. I'm using a 10mm wrench to do that. Once I get it all tight, it spins right. And now the hand crank, should be on this outside because they're attaching this to a table right here. So this is going to be attached to the table, so the table will be over here. Hand crank has to be on the outside, otherwise if this hand crank's over here, they're going to have a hard time spinning it. So the hand crank, now I can thread this on and turn it, and now the gears are turning in the right direction and the rollers are going the right direction. Now the pea pod can go in and be pulled through and not be going the opposite direction of what it needs to be. And now this is not going to unthread itself from here. So that's what I'm having to deal with on every single one of these. Every one I've looked at, they're all backwards. So I mean, that's something I'm just have to go through every one of these that I have left. And unfortunately, I hadn't sold too many of them. People haven't bought too many this year, so Hopefully I won't get a whole bunch of them back, but I am going to have to pay somebody to go through all of these and disassemble and reassemble every single one of them. So just wanted to show you what I'm dealing with here.